Alright folks, Vitek here from Wani. With us today we have one and only Tommy of Between the Bird and Me. Man, how you doing today?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm good. I want to start off by asking you the primary reason why you guys felt that it's good to divide these two albums by releasing them separately instead of one complete chaotic package.
Well, there's a few reasons. It's weird. Like, I would say the first reason is it's kind of fun in 2018 to not give everyone everything they want the
Right,
moment it's out.
right,
Because as we all know, everything is so instant, and we liked the idea of there being like the wait, and the excitement of like more coming. And this album, it just kind of worked out perfectly. We didn't write it in this way. We wrote it as one piece, and every time, me personally, every time I listen to the record, for mixing or whatever,
mm-hmm.
there was this spot where it ended, and that's very rare for us to ever have a stop at all.
Right,
And I would always kind of go on my day and then come back to it later. And when we were talking about it, we're like, if we're gonna do it, let's try it this album.
mm-hmm.
We were hoping it would kind of shed more light on the second half of the album. Our music's so long and dense. A lot of times, people don't get through our whole album. So we're like, oh, maybe if we release it, it's separate. Maybe the second half, people, will kind of dive into that a little bit more than they would if we released it, traditionally. And it's something a little different. We've been doing this a long time.
Right.
And I think, between the Bear and Me as a whole, we try to kind of just try new things, with our music and, the way we kind of run our business. And it was just something we wanted to try. There's pros and cons, obviously, to every decision. And I don't know, I enjoyed it. I'm not sure if it's something, I don't think it will do every release, but it felt right for this release.
Understood.
And yeah.
Yeah, but that's really great. The reason I asked you this question is the moment I got the second part, the promo, I went back to first, heard it again, then came back to second part, finished it, and then I felt like going back to first again and make it like a sequence. Like, go to first, come back to second, and so on. The reason I did this is I felt that even though there's a lot of traditional, BTBAM sound in it, and that at the same time you're also touching a lot of different, areas, but still the core remains the same. It's that, that emotional heft in the singing, the melodies, the atmospheric touch. It's pretty much reflective of the lyrical concept that you had in your mind. So at the end of the day, fans are given an album which has that, that craft and the cohesiveness, and pretty much serves that whole, how do I put it, like the whole complex and the disparate arrangements that has been there on this record. So when you were writing it, was it like seamless? You guys didn't care about which song is going to fit where, first part, second part, whatever. It just went on. That's what it feels like to me.
Yeah, I mean, we wrote it honestly how we write most of our recent records. We don't. I normally do lyrics second, and most of this record I didn't have the lyrics and the story completely figured out.
Mm-hmm.
So when we were writing, I mean, this record I don't think we started right from the very beginning and then just wrote all the way to the end. It's weird. It's kind of hard to explain writing. Sometimes you'll have a section that someone wrote that you're like, oh, that's this will fit really well right here on the record,
right.
but you always want it to be cohesive, like you were saying, and I think that's one thing we've really gotten really good at as a band and as a group is just making the chaos that is our music be very cohesive and feel really good, with each other, even if things do take a drastic turn, they still feel pretty comfortable.
Right.
I think that's just something over the years that we've perfected
Mastered.
in our own way.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say writing the album was really much different than it has been, throughout the last few years. And for us, like, even though our music's pretty it's technical at times, and gets chaotic at times. It's very organic, and it's what we are in that moment, and I think that's really important to us, is just releasing material that represents us in that moment and what we really want to write. We're not trying to do anything that isn't us.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. The very first track, the Proverbial Bellows, it's the marathon of riffs that you guys throw at fans. That's insane. And at the same time, you have these, your vocals, that kind of spidery keyboard-driven patterns, and then you have, you keep repeating, "I am I. What is this?" over your, the keyboard, and the transition is really smooth. I mean, the riffs that you're throwing at us, at the same time, you have, even in your second chorus, you keep saying, "Please pick up the phone. It's been ringing for years now. I'm so alone." It again makes me feel that, that the whole melody just keeps that together, the bloat. It provides something that a listener can latch onto it amidst all this chaotic riffs that you're throwing.
Yeah, I mean, especially since I've gotten older, I've kind of realized that's my job.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times when we finish a song, I'm like, how the hell am I going to write vocals to this? And for a song like Proverbial Billow, it was the more kind of proggy, like, pretty crazy song. There's a lot of different, moods and stuff, and I wanted to write vocals that kind of even made the stuff that, might not be in 4/4 or something, make it kind of like, make it feel a little simpler than it is, I guess, and kind of make it more of a song.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of fun with that song, because I wanted to kind of make the vocals and lyrics pretty simple, and kind of make it something that fans could grasp onto, but at the same time, in the background, all this other craziness is going on, and I knew other types of fans would grasp onto that. So
right. The song on this album, which basically kind of made me feel that I'm listening to Automata I, was the grit. It's probably the most best and the most hooking thing on this record. And the reason is how you have the backbone of the song has this, you guys alternating between flavors of those moody synth chorus themes and those aggressive riffs, and it's wonderful how you guys have these mellotron based, punctuated by melodic leads that going on into the 3/4 of the track. It's different. It makes me feel that it sounds good, because I keep you you are ending the theme by repeating, "We are in this together," over and over, isn't it? So when you write these verses to fit the kind of riffs that are basically behind it, it's crazy, because I love how I don't find any other band doing it, and at the same time it grows my respect for the band like BTBAM, that you guys do something a little different than other prog bands out there.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with just how different we all write from each other, and when we get together and when we work together, it creates these. Our songs become so unique because all our, the way each of us writes kind of shines, and us working together kind of creates these songs that only could be us.
Yeah.
And I think over the years we've gotten really well working with each other, and I think that, we don't really think about it. We just kind of do our thing, and it's awesome to hear people like yourself sing stuff like that, because that's definitely an intention of us, is to sound like ourselves. It always has been. We don't. We've never been the kind of band. It's like, let's write a song that sounds like this band. We start from scratch and just kind of write what's in our heads, and because we all write so differently from each other, it kind of creates this this mishmash of ideas and different moods that creates a a BTBAM song. So.
Right. You took me back to those 70s prog, and the last part of the Proverbial Bellow, where you have this jazzy, clean guitar part, which has this keyboard and the counterpoint guitars. It took me back to the 70s prog. Like, it's somber, and it just ends the track so damn well.
Oh, awesome. Well, thank you. Yeah, a lot of that. A lot of that song Dan, our bassist, wrote. That's like his world. He's he's way into the old prog stuff, and I know that stuff's definitely in his DNA. And I think that's another thing that makes us different is like, you know, for instance, Dan will bring like a really proggy sounding part to us, but once we all kind of put our spin on it, it becomes like it has that vibe, but it becomes a BTBAM version of that.
Right.
And I think, you know, that with every kind of, I mean, if there's a death metal riff that somebody wrote, like once we kind of put our touch on it, it doesn't sound like it sounds more like just a BTBAM part rather than a death metal riff. You know, I think that's what's kind of cool is like once we, you know, put all of our flavor on it, it just becomes us.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. You know, I had a chat with Michael Ackerfeld a few years ago, and I asked him this question that as an artist, of course, you have to fulfill your desires as to what kind of music you write. Because at the end of the day, yes, fans are going to always, there'll be fans who love it, there'll be fans who hate the experimentations. But at the end of the day, as an artist, you feel satisfied that you did something which you wanted to do despite what may be the outcome. So in your case, as an artist, I'm sure you would have written a lot of music which just went to the dustbin because maybe it just didn't work out. And when I asked him the same question, he said he has written literally 100 albums full of shit. And you know,
I haven't written that much. But.
And if you look at this whole Opeth's discography and the amount of the kind of songs they've put out, it's crazy. So, you know, how about you? How do you feel when you have such creative ideas coming in, but that just doesn't match what you, as let's say, as BTBAM are supposed to bring it out?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's finding that balance, and I think part of, you know, being a musician and kind of learning more about yourself is knowing what's good and bad. And, you know, I think that's a problem a lot of people have is just thinking if they wrote it, it's good. And that's not a good way to really look at it. Because a lot of times, you know, I'll spend, you know, hours and hours on something, and then I'll think it's great, and then I'll listen to it 3 days later, and I'm like, this is garbage, you know. So I think it's just having that, you know, that thing in your head. It's either it's good or not. And you have to have that filter.
Right.
And you know, and as far as like creative outlets, I think it's important to kind of find ways to get it out, even if it's not all within. You know, like for us, for instance, you know, I have a solo project.
Yeah, you have a solo.
Literally try any and everything, and then Dan has a lot of projects. I think it's important to like have outlets, you know, outlets to try even more new things, because I think it helps you, you know, learn about yourself and working with other people and perfecting, you know,
absolutely,
what you do. And you know, but yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people write a lot of music that they don't use. I think a lot of fans don't realize that, but it's just part of it. So it's like any job; it's part of the job. You know, you write stuff that is not good, and hopefully you have a filter that doesn't let it get on a record.
Right. That's cool, man. You know, now you guys are headlining, you know, Summer Slaughter. The festival has a, you know, quite a mixed lineup, and I like how you have one of my favorite bands, Allegiant, also part of the list. So quite a mixed lineup with, you know, prog, death metal, you know, extreme bands out there. So as a Summer Slaughter tour, are you guys going to play any of these, let's say 1 and 2? I know it's too much to ask because obviously maybe you will be able to play maybe an hour and a half on stage. But would you be playing, say, like Automata 2 from the beginning till the end, or say Automata 1?
No, we're not. We're doing kind of a set. You know, like a regular set. You know, we have a few new songs. You know, some. We're not going. I guess we're going back as far as Alaska stuff. Doing some stuff. You know, basically stuff off of most of our records.
Great. So
but we're not doing a start to finish thing. We're still kind of figuring out if that's something we want to do with this record, but maybe next year.
Great. That sounds great. So touring plans other than States, is there anything that's currently like locked in or something in talks?
We're doing the UK and Europe with Tesseract later in the year.
Nice.
Yeah. Other than that, we're doing those 2 tours, and we're trying to start planning out 2019 right now. And I got a new record coming out later this year too.
That's your solo album.
We're all pretty busy.
That's your solo album, right?
Yes.
Great, great, great. If you had to sum up the record in a sentence, what would you say?
Ooh, ooh. Um, it's definitely, I would say it's an adventure. I feel like the second part is pretty adventurous, for sure.
Absolutely. Thomas, a few days ago, Winnie Paul died. Is there
Yeah.
something, you as a person growing up, as a Pantera fan, as a fan of metal, how they changed the whole the 90s scene, anything that took you back to the time, probably when you saw Pantera live with Winnie Paul?
Yeah, I mean, that band changed my life. I grew up like an '80s metal kid, and then once I heard Vogler's play at Power, it was game over. That was the band that kind of like took me to that next level and made me want to write and be in a band and all that. So yeah, I mean they're definitely a big part of my life. So yeah, it's crazy. It's sad, especially since nobody really knows what happened yet. But yeah, it's a tragedy. Very good, very important band in music history, not just metal. I think in just in general.
True, true, true. Well, that's life. Can't help it. So, Thomas, good luck, buddy.
Very true.
I'll catch you on the road sometime soon, okay?
All right, thank you, man. Have a good day.
Take care. Bye bye.